Jason is home, and he has made the shocking decision to step away from the organization to prioritize Danny. He is distancing himself from the violence. Meanwhile, Britt has just been cleared of her nightmare legal troubles and discovered her terminal diagnosis was a complete fabrication. She is free, she is alive, and she is utterly heartbroken because Jason did not immediately rush to her side upon his return. On the surface, this looks like a weary man trying to shield his family and a tragic missed connection. But we need to look deeper. To understand what might be happening to Jason, we have to look closely at Anna. Right now, Anna is fighting a terrifying, silent war inside her own mind. She is experiencing severe, debilitating hallucinations of Peter. And this is not just a case of bad memories keeping her awake at night. Peter is manifesting in front of her like a physical ghost, taunting her, manipulating her, and actively pushing her down a destructive path of revenge. The truly alarming part is not that Anna is seeing Peter, it is that she is starting to react to his command. The psychological torture she endured under Cullum and the agency has fundamentally fractured her reality. If this is what the agency did to a legendary seasoned spy like Anna, what on earth did they do to Jason? We are talking about a man who already has a history of severe traumatic brain injury. His neural pathways were already altered decades ago. I strongly suspect they did not just lock him in a cell to rot. They used him as a blank canvas. I believe they subjected him to a highly classified experimental neuroprogramming protocol. Their goal was never just to torture him. Their goal was to strip away his humanity and forge him into the ultimate unquestioning living weapon. I can vividly imagine Jason walking through the city, seemingly normal, but internally fighting a war we cannot see. What if he is experiencing the exact same visual hijacking as Anna? Imagine him standing in a room and suddenly his mind projects a ghost from his past. He could be staring right at Shiloh or Faison or Alcazar or even a completely fabricated enemy implanted by his captors. Every time this hallucination triggers, Jason does not panic. He simply shifts into a cold, calculated combat mode. He becomes a machine responding to a threat that does not actually exist in the physical world. And this is where it gets interesting and absolutely devastating. Let us talk about Britt. She has survived the unimaginable. She has her life back. And she is carrying this heavy, lingering hope that she and Jason can finally have the reunion they were robbed of. Picture this scenario. Britt finds out where he is. She walks into a dimly lit room, her heart pounding, a tentative smile on her face, ready to finally close the distance between them. She steps forward, speaking his name softly, expecting the man she loves to turn around and pull her into his arm. But Jason does not see Britt. In that split second, the experimental programming overrides his optical nerve. The agency has conditioned him to see a lethal assassin stepping out of the shadows. He does not see the woman he loves. He sees a threat raising a weapon. Jason reacts with the flawless, terrifying speed he is known for. He draws his gun. There is zero hesitation. He pulls the trigger because that is exactly what he has been programmed to do. The gunshot echoes, the target falls, and suddenly, the digital illusion shatters. The programming recedes, and Jason is left staring at Britt, bleeding out on the floor. He did not want to hurt her, but his own hijacked mind made him the executioner. Now, I need to pause and play devil's advocate for a moment. Am I reading too much into a few blank stares? Is it entirely possible that Jason is just deeply, naturally traumatized? Maybe there is no sci-fi mind control. Maybe the agency simply beat him down, and he is just a tired, broken father who realizes that his presence brings nothing but pain. Maybe his distance from Carly, Danny, Scout, and Britt is a completely conscious, rational choice. He knows Sunny is spiraling. He knows the enemies are circling, and he is choosing isolation as a shield for the people he loves. That is the classic hero move, right? Suffering in silence to keep everyone else safe. but we cannot ignore the history of this universe. The agency and its rogue factions have an absolute obsession with mind control and behavioral modification. We have seen this exact playbook before. Look at Drew. His entire original identity was wiped away, and he was mapped with fake memories to serve as a pawn. Look at Dante. Dante was captured, tortured, and turned into a literal sleeper agent. He was a ticking time bomb, a programmed killing machine who would snap into a violent trance the moment a specific trigger was activated. If Drew and Dante could be broken and reprogrammed, why would Jason be immune? In fact, Jason would be their crown jewel. Let us take a trip down memory lane and really analyze what happened to Dante. When Dante was taken, they did not just beat him. They fundamentally rewired his cognitive processing. They used auditory cues, like the simple, innocuous sound of a pen clicking, to bypass his conscious mind and activate a dormant killer. He went from a loving father and dedicated cop to a cold-blooded assassin in the blink of an eye. The agency perfected this technology years ago. Technology does not regress. It evolves. The protocol they used on Dante was likely version 1. What they used on Jason is version 10. It is cleaner, deeper, and infinitely more dangerous. I am convinced the agency implanted a specific trigger into Jason's subconscious. It might not even be a constant hallucination. It could be a specific phrase, a visual symbol, or even a specific target profile. On a normal Tuesday, he is the quiet, brooding man we have always known. But the second that trigger is activated, the father who loves Danny and Scout completely vanishes. The man who would die for Carly ceases to exist. He becomes an empty vessel, a perfect assassin who feels absolutely no emotion, no hesitation, and no remorse. He just executes the command and waits for the next order. This perfectly explains some of the bizarre micro-expressions we have seen since his return. Have you noticed the moments where he just seems to freeze? I think Jason is experiencing missing time. He might be waking up in locations with no memory of how he got there. He might find his knuckles bruised or his weapon fired, with a terrifying blank spot in his memory. He is a man fighting a war inside his own skull, desperately trying to push back against the synthetic commands echoing in his brain. He might even be starting to suspect that he is compromised. Jason is incredibly intuitive. If he realizes that his memories are disjointed, or if he feels an unnatural compulsion to act violently without provocation, it would terrify him. And Jason does not get terrified easily. This is the real reason he is pushing everyone away. He is not just protecting Carly, Danny, Scout, and Britt from the mob. He is protecting them from himself. He is isolating himself because his subconscious is screaming that he is a lethal threat to anyone who stands too close. And think about how this plays out with the people who trust him most. Sonny is already spiraling into paranoia. If Jason starts acting erratically, or if he is activated to take out a target that harms the organization, Sonny will not see a victim of mind control. Sonny will see betrayal. He will assume Jason has turned his back on their brotherhood. The tragic irony is that Jason would be entirely innocent, trapped in a mental cage, while his oldest friend declares war on him. The agency would not just be using Jason to eliminate targets, they would be using him to systematically dismantle his entire support system from the inside out. Then there is Carly. Carly has an uncanny ability to read Jason. She knows his tells, his moods, and his silent language better than anyone on Earth. She will be the one pushing him, demanding to know why he is so cold, why he is pulling away from the life they built. But if Jason is compromised, Carly's relentless pursuit of the truth puts her directly in the crosshairs. If the agency perceives Carly as a threat to their programming, they could easily implant a command that flags her as an enemy. Imagine the horror if Jason is triggered while standing in Carly's kitchen. The absolute devastation of him turning his lethal skills against his best friend. We also have to consider the children. Jason made the monumental decision to step away from the mob specifically to protect Danny and Scout. He wants to be a father. But what if the agency uses that love against him? What if the hallucinations are designed to make him see threats to his children everywhere, causing him to react with extreme unjustified violence in public? Or worse, what if the programming glitches and he cannot recognize his own son? The psychological horror of Jason looking at Danny and seeing a stranger, or a target, is almost too dark to contemplate. It turns his noble sacrifice into a twisted nightmare. If Anna and Jason are suffering from the same agency-induced psychological warfare, they might eventually cross paths and realize they share the same symptom. Anna could be the one to recognize the dead, glazed look in Jason's eyes because she sees it in the mirror every time Peter speaks to her. Together, they might uncover that this is not organic PTSD, but a highly structured, classified operation. And if we are looking for the architect of this nightmare, we have to look directly at Brennan. Brennan is a master manipulator, a man who pulls strings from the shadows and treats human lives like disposable chess pieces. Does Brennan know that Jason is a programmed sleeper agent? Or worse, was Brennan the one who authorized the experimental neurohijacking in the first place? If Brennan is holding the remote control to Jason's mind, then Jason is nothing more than a ticking time bomb planted right in the heart of our city. The agency does not need to control him all day. They just need to wait until someone like Valentine or Sunny becomes a problem, and then they activate their ghost. This is the most chilling aspect of the entire theory. Jason would complete the assassination, wipe the weapon, and walk away, completely oblivious to what he just did. He would not be a villain making a conscious choice to turn to the dark side. He would be a victim, stripped of his free will, trapped in a fleshy prison while someone else steers the wheel. It is a profound violation of his autonomy, turning his greatest strength against the very fabric of his soul. Let us go back to that hypothetical, heartbreaking scene with Britt, because it is the emotional core of this entire theory. Picture the rain beating against the windows of his safe house. The lighting is dim, casting long, deceptive shadows across the floor. Britt enters, her medical bag over her shoulder, her voice trembling slightly as she calls out his name. She has spent months thinking he was dead, then weeks thinking he did not care. Now, she is finally here. But inside Jason's mind, the auditory input of her voice is scrambled. The visual input of her silhouette is warped. The neuroimplant fires a synthetic electrical signal directly into his amygdala, flooding his system with the artificial perception of imminent, lethal danger. He does not feel anger, he feels nothing. It is pure, surgical precision. The weapon is drawn, aimed, and fired in a fraction of a second. The sound is deafening in the small room. Britt stumbles back, the shock on her face registering before the pain. And as she falls, the synthetic adrenaline in Jason's system crashes. The digital veil lifts. The hallucination of the faceless assassin melts away, replaced by the horrifying reality of Britt collapsing to the floor. The weapon drops from his hand. The silence that follows that gunshot would be the loudest, most agonizing sound in television history. It would be the moment his soul is truly shattered. If he survives that realization, the road ahead will be unlike anything he has ever faced. He cannot shoot his way out of his own mind. He cannot intimidate a neurochemical override. He will need help. He will need Anna, who understands the terrifying reality of a hijacked brain. He will need medical intervention to locate and neutralize whatever implant or hypnotic suggestion is buried in his cortex. It will be a race against time before the agency realizes their weapon is malfunctioning and sends a cleanup crew to eliminate him for good. We are standing on the precipice of a storyline that could redefine everything we know about this character. The agency has played God with the minds of our residents for far too long. But by turning their ultimate weapon against the people he loves, they have set the stage for a tragedy of epic proportion. The real enemy is not out there in the streets anymore. It is locked inside his head, waiting for the right moment, the right trigger, the right target. And when that moment finally comes, who will be left standing in the wreckage?
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.